Let us worship with our eyes and ears and fingertips. Let us love the world with heart and mind and body. We feed our eyes upon mystery and revelation in the faces of our brothers and sisters. We seek to know the wistfulness of their young and very old, the wistfulness of people in all times of life. We seek to understand the shyness behind arrogance, the fear behind pride, the tenderness behind clumsy strength, the anguish behind cruelty. All life flows into the great calm heart. It feels only our hearts. Let us worship not in bowing down, not with closed eyes and stopped ears. Let us worship with the opening of all windows of our peace, with the full outstretching of our spirits. Life comes with singing and laughter, with tears and confiding, with advising ways too great to be held in the mind and heart and body to those who have fallen in love with life. Let us worship, let us learn to love.
Opportunity to share with you this, for me, very spiritual topic. And I especially want to thank Maestro Keith Kirchhoff for agreeing to do the heavy lifting for this service. Some years ago, as I was searching for a meditation discipline that would work for me and not having much luck, I talked with a Zen master, and he said all meditation basically consists of three things. 1, sit down. 2, shut up. And 3, pay attention. He encouraged me to find the one focus of attention that would work best for me. Music is the most spiritually meaningful practice for me. So I devised a meditation routine based on focused listening to music, using a different piece or a different playlist every day. And it's been working well. At one point, I acquired for my meditations a CD of the organ music of 1910, the mid-20th century French composer. As is my habit on getting a new recording, I listened to it before reading much of anything about what was on it. One of the pieces on the CD, the one we're going to hear in a moment, pardon my French, Apparition d'Église Éternelle, had a profound impact on me. I found it deeply spiritual, bringing me a sense of contact with the divine in a way that few other pieces ever do. Yet when I read what Messiaen's intent with this piece was, I was flabbergasted. He was a very devout Roman Catholic, and his intent with this piece was intimately tied with Catholic theology. Now, I was raised in a Protestant, and I've been a devout UU, so to speak, since my early 20s. His sense of this piece just did not resonate with me at all. How, I wondered, could I have found such profound spiritual meaning in a work which was deliberately composed to express something that I cannot relate to? At this point in our service today, before you hear the piece, I'm not going to tell you what Messiaen meant to express or what imagery it inspired in me. After Reverend Martha's prayer and the silent meditation, Keith will play the piece for us. And I encourage you, if you are remain so inclined, to remain in a meditative frame of mind throughout the piece, and allow this piece to move your spirit in whatever way it will, without my having prejudiced you beforehand. The piece runs about 10 or 12 minutes, give or take, depending on how the Spirit moves Keith this morning. After we hear it, I will tell you what Messiaen meant to express about it. And then Keith will make some comments about the music of Messiaen and his intent. And then I will tell you how it impressed me, the kind of feelings it evoked in me. And finally, I will offer a way in which we can reconcile these seemingly very different things. How you respond to it may be altogether different. liner notes of the CD. Expressed here is a vision of the eternal church, reminiscent of Debussy's Something Cathedral. The eternal church appears in heaven like a passing ship, which can hardly be seen at all at first, but it becomes clearer until finally it is clearly visible, after which it slowly moves away. The link with the hymn Urbs Jerusalem Beata shows Messiaen's familiarity with Catholic liturgy. That hymn from the 8th or 9th century describes as if in a vision how Jerusalem, the city of eternal peace, sinks down from the sky and becomes visible. The glory of the heavenly city is described in biblical images, and so too are the pains and tortures which must chastise the people so that they fit as building blocks in the divine building and can enjoy eternal bliss. Apparition is a musical demonstration of the text of this hymn. Close quote. At the front of the printed score of the music, Messiaen included a little 9-line poem of his name. Either this is Messiaen's translation of the Latin text of that 8th century hymn, or it is something that Messiaen himself wrote, I don't know which. In English translation, it reads, "Made from living stones, made from heavenly stones, she appears in the heavens, the bride of the Lamb. The heavenly church is made of heavenly stones, the souls of the chosen. They are in God and God in them for all eternity of heaven." That is how Messiaen conceived of this piece. Keith.
Messiaen is one of the most unique composers of the 20th century. If you think about the era in which he worked, and the era in which he lived and was his most creative, the world of music was undergoing a huge paradigm shift. People were reevaluating what the role of music was in our lives, what the role of music and art was in society, what art and music could or could not do. You had people like his Messiaen student, Pierre Boulez, who was 10 years his junior, who was fresh out of World War II, and the horrors of how the music of Wagner was bastardized by the Nazis was still fresh in people's minds. Composers felt a need to distance their music from anything that could possibly be mistaken for anything other than just pure music by any other nation in the future. You had other composers like John Cage in the United States who believed very strongly that music could not express anything. Music was simply a collection of sounds, and that the composer could not express a specific program or specific intent through music. And during this time, the composer and the audience were growing further and further apart. In 1958, for example, composer Milton Babbitt published in the magazine the article, "Who Cares If You Listen?" The idea was, that not only do they not care if you understand the music or like the music, they don't even care if you show up to listen to it. But for Messiaen, this was different. Messiaen did not take this approach at all, and for Messiaen, music was an opportunity to explore greater things than what was on earth. It was an opportunity to look beyond the mundane of the world around us and to look for things that couldn't be described in words and could not be seen with our eyes. These were things of the divine, things of the sacred. In every single piece he wrote, every single piece, without exception, from the very first pieces he wrote as a student to the very last piece before he died, every single piece was an exploration of the relationship between humanity and the divine. It was he explored the possibilities of where they meet and how that relationship works. One of his hopes in every single piece he wrote was to take the sanctity of the church and transfer that into the secular world of the concert hall, to make every listening of one of his works a spiritual experience that could bring you closer to the divine. Because no other composer in the 20th century, really, or perhaps any other composer prior to that either, had such an approach as that, I find every one of his works extremely moving. Composers at the time didn't know what to do with this. Artists, of course, were moving very, very far from the church. And religious people weren't sure what to do with this either, because it didn't sound like the hymns that they grew up with. But Messiaen really stuck to this vision he had, this belief he had of how he could bring all of the world into a closer contact and a closer experience with the divine.
Well, Messiaen's description of what this piece meant, as I said, doesn't resonate with me. Without any preconceived notions of this piece, upon my first hearing of it, it resonated deeply with my sense of the divine and with our extremely limited ability to comprehend the mysteries of the universe. Starting softly, that piece, it grows as if coming up from under the ground, from the ground of all being, slowly but surely pulling the listener, the meditator, up to its climax, a point at which it gives one a tiny glimpse of the eternal truth, after which, just as slowly, it brings us down, 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 to a very quiet, meditative end. I despair of the ability of words to describe the sublime experience, that glimpse of the truth that this music produces. A complementary way that I often respond to this piece is expressed in the last chapter of the book Infinity in Your Hand by the UU minister William Hauff, a book I highly recommend to you. That chapter, which is called Living with Death, deals with how UUs may come to peace with this ultimate reality. To give you a flavor of what he says, here's a paragraph from it. During the 7th century, the Anglo-Saxon king Edward was importuned by an emissary from the Pope to convert to Christianity. Edward consulted his advisors, one of whom replied, "It has often seemed to me that our life on earth is like a swallow that suddenly flies into a brightly lighted banquet hall on a stormy night, lingers for a moment, and then darts out the window on the other side. It comes from the wintry darkness into the warmth and light, and for a moment we see it clearly, then it disappears into the darkness outside. That is how my life appears to me. I do not know from where I came into this world or where I am going. All I know is that the brief span of light which I fly through all too swiftly." Close quote. Perhaps those words were spoken around the same time that the lyrics to the hymn towards the Jerusalem Beata were written. Messiaen's music beautifully evokes the imagery of the swallow flying through the warm banquet hall. As an aside, those of you who were here yesterday afternoon for the memorial service heard a poem read about the swallow. And it's not exactly what these words are, but complemented perfectly. It was quite unique. So how can we reconcile these views? Those of the devoutly Catholic composer, those of the pagan advisor to a medieval king, and those of a 21st century UU. I think that the ultimate reality, and I put that in caps, the ultimate reality, the great truth behind all appearances, is so enormously vast as to be nearly beyond comprehension by us mere mortals. I think that the practices of meditation and prayer, aided by such things as focus on sacred music and other forms of art and literature, can allow an individual to grasp a little snippet of that truth. And when we do so, we naturally tend to verbalize it in terms of our culture and our upbringing, especially our religious training. So the resulting words that we use to describe the experience, taken at face value, may be so different from each other as to be seemingly contradictory. But it's the best we can do. Therefore, we should treat all such descriptions with the utmost respect. Devout people from all traditions do manage to access little bits of the truth. Now, I am very interested to hear from you, to learn how this piece of music came across to you, what you feel about it, how it may have moved you or not. After the service, and after we grab a little coffee, I'm going to sit in the Peterson room, and I'd love to have any of you join me and tell me what you think of it. Thank you very much.
We receive fragments of holiness, glimpses of eternity, brief moments of insight. Let us gather them up for the precious gifts that they are, and renewed by that grace, move boldly into the unknown. Move boldly into the unknown.